Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace the rear brakes on a 2009 Hyundai Santa Fe. In this particular case, the customer does not want the rotors resurfaced, so we're just going to basically be removing the brake pads and replacing them with a new. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that step by step. Fairly easy. What you do is you grab a screwdriver, and now what you're going to do is you're going to get into the back right over here, and you're going to put the screwdriver blade in so that it actually comes through on that side right there. I don't know if you can see that, but it comes right through there. And then you just keep slight pressure on it, and you'll see it slowly starts to push the piston back in, and the caliper slides out, the piston pushes in. And you do that until the piston pushes all the way in. Make sure your caliper slides back and forth. And I'll show you. I'll put it down for a second. And what you do is once you pry the caliper over as far as you can, you just make sure the caliper slides back and forth as it's supposed to, because it's supposed to slide back and forth easily. If it doesn't, then you know you have to change your caliper, obviously. Then you put your screwdriver in by your brake pad, and you just pry the brake pad back into the caliper. In this case here is actually rusted pretty solid in there, the pad. So we're just going to push the pad back, and I'll show you what I mean about being rusted. Alright, then you make sure you push the pad all the way in to recess the piston into the bore. Right? Once you do that, you take your ratchet, and it's a 14 millimeter. We're going to remove this bolt right here. And once you crack it loose, you can just unscrew it by hand. Take it out. Now in this case, we're not changing the rotors, so you can just flip it up like this and pull your brake pad out. Same thing on this side here. Remember what I was telling you about it being rusty? This pad is rusted here also. So we're just going to pry it just a little bit with the screwdriver to get it out. And now I'm going to show you what to do, and just so you see this too. These are right down to the what's called the disc indicator. This little piece right on the side right here. When it comes in contact with the rotor, it starts to squeal, and it almost touched into it, but it didn't quite. Let me grab the new pads, and I'm going to show you what to do so that the brake pads don't bind up on here. We're going to grease these up real good, and we'll put the pads back together. So let me grab the pads, and I'll come right back. Okay, now after you get your brake pads out, you just push your caliper up and out of the way. I wanted to show you something too, just in case you can't push that piston back in. They make a tool that you can use to push the pistons back in, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. Want to make sure that your slide pins here slide just the way they're supposed to. They need to slide freely. Same thing on the upper one, it has to slide nice and freely. And then we're going to grease up the brake pads. Most brakes, when they come in today, they come with a little packet of silicone grease that you would apply here, where the four corners of the brakes touch, and then we'll pull this pin out here and we'll grease it up a little bit there too. So let me put this camera down, and I'll show you first how to push that piston back in with the tool, and the next thing is how to put these brake pads in. All right? And then what you do is you just take your new pads and you push them in here like this, and you put this one in here like this, and then you would take your tool and you would slide it in here. And once you have it in there, then you just turn it, and as you're turning it, it pushes the piston all the way in. But in this case it doesn't matter because the piston is already pushed in all the way. But that's how you would push the piston back in. Right, but if you do it with the screwdriver like I showed you, you'll see it'll be a lot easier doing it that way. Alright, so we take the brake pads, and now what we're going to do is you're going to make sure you put the brake pads exactly as they came off. Alright, now the back brake pad we took off has the sensor up on top, so we're going to make sure we put the brake pad in the same way with that sensor like this. Alright? What we're going to do, and we talked about the grease, we just grease up the brake pad here a little bit so it slides nice and easy. Same thing on this side right here. And you take your brake pad and you put it into your housing here where it slides right in like that. Same thing, you take your outer brake pad, and in this case here the outer brake pad does not have the sensor on it, only the inner one had the sensor. So we take our new brake pad, put that grease on there and on here, and then we take the brake pad and you put it into the caliper mounting knuckle, and you push it in all the way. Make sure you're underneath these clips, that you're not bending them, and you push it in all the way, and that's it. What I normally do too is take out the slide pins and take some grease and just put a little grease on it. Keeps everything lubricated and sliding as it's supposed to be. And we're going to do the same thing on the upper mount, except this one here we didn't unbolt it. So what we're going to do is just disconnect it like this, put a little bit of grease on there, and then we just slide it back in and just slide it back and forth, and you'll put it right back into the bore. Right? And you push your brake pad, put your caliper down over your pads, push this in very little, bring your bolt back in here that you previously took out, and you screw it in as far as you can by hand. And then we just tighten it up. It doesn't have to be real tight, just snug it in there, put just a tiny bit more. Alright, and that's it. So let me just recap what we did here. We put the brake pads back in here where they belong. We tightened up the bolt right here, and that's it. It's all set. Alright, so we're going to go around now to the other side, and we're going to repeat this process on the other side too. Alright, good luck, and I'll see you on the next one.